At the end of this video, you'll know how to read the room, and you'll never walk out of a meeting again where something important was not addressed. As a leader, your ability to shift at critical moments depends on one thing: your capacity to sense what's going on beneath the surface. That ability is called social awareness, and it's the third component of emotional intelligence, following self-awareness and self-regulation. So this video is about social awareness, and it's the ability to tune in to what's happening around you, what people are feeling, what's not being said, and what the group as a whole is signaling, but what might stay invisible unless you act on it. So if self-awareness is about knowing yourself and self-regulation is about managing yourself, then social awareness is about sensing others accurately. So when walking into a meeting, for example, you may notice your own distraction. That's awareness. You might be able to center yourself, and you choose to be fully present, zooming in on the person that's speaking. Now that would be an example of regulation. However, if you're also keen on the emotional expressions of others, then you'll notice that there's that quiet colleague who seems a bit disengaged, and you'll use this awareness of your environment to possibly redirect it and maybe even change the outcome of the meeting. And that's why it's a critical part of effective leadership. It can literally change the way you lead others and how they respond to you. Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'll share one powerful shift that helps you respond in real time when something feels off, especially in team settings. It's simple, but it can change the way people experience you as a leader. So let's be clear. Social awareness isn't about being overly emotional or trying to read people's minds. It's about developing your capacity to notice things like tone, timing, nonverbal cues, and changes that happen within group dynamics. So they're subtle signs, but they are your best data, especially when you're leading people. It means asking yourself things like, why is this person suddenly quieter? Why did the mood shift when I said that? What's not being spoken, but I can clearly feel it? When you ignore these things, you risk pushing forward with logic, and the group that you're with could still be stuck in emotion. Please understand this. People act from their emotion. So that gap, you missing those clues, that could lead to resistance, disengagement, silence. Imagine the effect that would have on the performance of your team. And make no mistake, this happens even in high-performing teams. Now, I want to make this real for you. So here's an example. A leadership team that I worked with, they introduced a big change initiative. And everyone on the management team agreed, at least that's what it seemed like, because they did so verbally. But later, we noticed that participation dropped, and very soon the plan stalled. Now, during a meeting, one socially aware leader picked up on these signs of quiet discomfort, hesitance, lack of clarity, and he mentioned that there was a lot of chatter in the hallways. So he suggested that instead of pushing harder, they pause and ask, what do we still need to proceed together? And he asked the pivotal question: is there enough trust to move forward? What followed was an honest but a tough conversation around expectations and willingness. And eventually, the original plan shifted quite drastically. What I reflected on with this leadership team was how many of them had indeed noticed early signs, even within themselves. And it came out, they'd all felt it, but no one spoke up. So the reason why they hadn't spoke up is because the real leader, the CEO in this case, didn't allow space. He didn't share his own feelings, and so no one did. To me, this example speaks to the importance of not ignoring what's going on in the room and training yourself to address it. Because, like this example shows, it might make the difference between succeeding and failing. Consider another example. You're in a team meeting and one person dominates every conversation, and you notice some others rarely ever speak. That's more than just a style difference. It's a relational pattern. A socially aware leader sees that as a signal to intervene and rebalance the space, rather than assume that, everybody's going to be equally comfortable and everybody's responsible for speaking up for themselves. These small human cues, they tell you everything you need to know about what's working and what's not. But here's the challenge. In busy leadership roles, it's easy to tune out these signals. You're focused on decisions, on outcomes. There's always this constant time pressure. So what social awareness requires you to do is to zoom out and to tune in. I want to share one practical way in which you can do this. And I know that it's going to be hard to practice this, but it's about intervening in the moment. And I teach this all the time. I call it notice, name, normalize. Here's how it goes. Notice is the first step. You begin by quietly observing the emotional tone. It could be in a meeting, could be in an interaction, any moment. So you're listening for what's being said and what's not being said. That's step one. Step two is to name it. That means you want to say something neutral but true. Like, for example, I noticed that we're not getting a lot of reactions to this. Is something unclear? Are we not aligned yet? In that way, what everybody senses is now out there, and now it can be addressed. That brings us to the third step. Normalize. Make it okay to speak up. You might say something like, it's totally fine if this still feels too fast, or if there are any concerns that we haven't voiced yet. Let's take a moment. Let's create that space. This simple framework turns emotional tension into shared understanding. And it invites the group to reconnect rather than retreat, which is something you so often see. Now, the benefit is that people will feel seen. You can address misunderstandings early on, and it builds trust, not because everybody has to agree right away, but because people feel safe enough to show up fully. You, as a leader, have the ability to create an environment like that. Now, I want to be real about this. It isn't always easy. Things are moving fast, there's a lot going on, and maybe you don't sense a lot of room to do it, especially in the environment where you work. Maybe there's actually some pushback because people aren't used to these things being brought out. Remember, social awareness isn't about getting it perfect. It's about developing the habit of paying attention and acting on what you sense and teaching others it's okay to do so. It's one of the fastest ways you can build credibility as a leader. Now, once you sense what's happening between people, the next step is knowing how to respond in a way that deepens connection and moves things forward. That brings us to our final topic, relationship management, or as I like to call it, the place where real leadership lives. In my next video, I'll dive into that. Thank you for watching this one. See you on the next one. And remember, keep learning, never stop growing.